Unemployment isn't just about losing a job, it's losing your stability, your routine, and a sense of direction in life. In this video, I'll be sharing my own story of unemployment, the anxiety and uncertainty that came with it, and how I've pivoted to freelancing full-time, as well as all the challenges that that's brought along with it. Let's dive in. Hi, hello. If you're new here, my name is David, and I'm a freelance graphic designer. Over the past year and a half or so, I've been laid off, unemployed, and have had to rebuild from the ground up. But I've learned so much along the way, and today I want to share some of that with you. So I guess I'll start with how exactly I ended up unemployed. And I don't want to go too deep into the specifics of that whole situation in this video, because honestly, there's a lot of layers, a lot of controversy, and a lot of thoughts and feelings that I still have around that whole situation. It's a lot. But if there's interest, maybe I'll dive deeper into that whole story in another video. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd like to hear about. Before going freelance, I was a senior graphic designer on the marketing team at Bitwise Industries here in Fresno. If you're familiar with Bitwise, then you already know where the story is going. But for those who don't, Bitwise was a local tech company here in Fresno that on Memorial Day 2023 furloughed all 900 employees over a Zoom call without notice. On top of all of that, our last paychecks that we had just received a couple of days earlier bounced, and now the CEOs are facing federal charges, including wire fraud. And there's a whole lot more to this story that I could go into, but again, maybe I'll save it for another video. Like I said, it's a whole ass mess.
That is one big pile of shit.
For anyone watching that has experienced being laid off, then maybe this next part will resonate. It almost felt like losing someone and going through the various stages of grief. Initially, I was in denial. I was just kind of like, what? Like, what the hell? Like, what just happened? Then came the stronger emotions like anger and a deep sadness that I don't want to say was depression, because I really don't feel like I was depressed, but it felt something like that. I remember one night, it was like 3 a.m. or something like that, and I was just laying in bed awake because I really couldn't sleep with everything that was going on. And a friend who also worked at Bitwise texted me at around that time, and she was surprised that I was up so late since I usually go to bed pretty early. And I told her, yeah, I just can't sleep with everything going on, and I'm just kind of here existing. And she felt the same. It was oddly comforting knowing someone else was experiencing the same turmoil that I was experiencing. Which leads me into how I personally dealt with the initial impact of being unemployed. Talking with my friends and family really helped me process what was happening. And in this case, a lot of my adult friendships were formed while working at Bitwise. So suddenly we were all in the same boat trying to navigate this crappy situation together. Some might call that trauma bonding, and you're probably right. And that's my first piece of advice for anyone right now that's unemployed and feeling a bit lost right now. Really allow yourself to feel, and don't be afraid to talk with someone. It's okay to feel lost, angry, upset, and everything else in between. I certainly felt a lot of that. Give yourself permission to experience these thoughts and emotions without guilt. And if you can do that with someone that you love and trust, that's even better. That could be a friend, family member, spouse, or even a mental health professional, whoever that may be for you, but find someone in your life that you can trust to talk to about these things. For me, initially, my friends and I spent time together doing things that brought us comfort amidst all the uncertainty that we were experiencing. We went on hikes, had picnics in the park, and hung out at a local coffee shop and job searched together online. Stuff like that. It helped us feel less alone, I guess. Around this time, I also started going to the gym more regularly, because if I was going to be broke and unemployed, I was at least going to be fit. And that's actually going to be my next piece of advice, which is to prioritize activities that support your mental well-being. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you, but taking care of your mental health helps manage stress and anxiety, and it helps you build the resilience that you're going to need as you navigate this new stage of life that you find yourself in. For me, that looked like hitting the gym regularly and spending time shooting the shit with my friends and family. For you, though, maybe that could look like journaling, doing yoga, heck, even going on a simple walk every day does wonders for you. Small actions like that can make a huge difference in your mental health. So, how did I decide what to do next? And I do want to preface this part by acknowledging that everyone's situation is different. For me, it was more about what's next for my career rather than, oh shit, I need to get a new job ASAP. I live with my parents and I have only myself and a cockatiel to support. Yes, of course, I still have bills and financial concerns, but compared to other people who had families to feed and homes at risk, I'd say my situation was less critical. Anyways, given what had just happened, I wasn't exactly eager to jump back into another corporate job that, at the end of the day, could just leave me in the dust if push comes to shove, like what had just happened. I started seeing this as an opportunity to explore new paths and take risks that I'd always been curious about, but couldn't because of work. One of those paths was freelancing. I'd been doing side gigs here and there when I was working full time, so I figured, hey, why not see what happens if I just go all in? And that would be my next piece of advice. If you can, of course, think of this as a chance to steer your life in a whole new direction. Think about what goals or passions you've been putting off because of work. Maybe that's going back to school, making a career change, or maybe just something simple like finding a new job within the same field that excites you. I started taking freelancing more seriously, but I also applied to a lot of dream jobs and even looked at opportunities that were far away from home in places that I'd always wanted to live in, like New York City and Seattle. I was really just throwing spaghetti at the wall and just seeing what stuck. I even considered the possibility of moving on from design altogether. Teaching has always been somewhat of a passion of mine. When I was in college, I actually worked for an organization called Teaching Fellows, which essentially was a teaching job, but in an after-school program. And that's something I still consider as a potential secondary career path if there ever comes a time where I want to just, move on to a different field. On top of that, I've also always been interested in content creation. So I started creating content for Instagram and TikTok and now YouTube, which is why you're watching this video now. Time sure flies when you're having fun around here. Which leads me into life now, a little over a year since being laid off. I'm now a full-time freelance graphic designer and content creator, both of which have presented their own trials and tribulations over the past year. I'll save my experience in content creation for social media for another video, so stick around if you want to watch that. But speaking on the freelancing part, the biggest challenge for me is, of course, having consistent work to work on, as well as the anxiety that comes during slower periods in between projects. That's when the negative self-talk really starts to creep in. It's something that I'm still actively learning to deal with. And if anyone watching is in the freelance game full time, let me know in the comments down below if this is something that you've experienced and how you deal with it. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure other people watching would also love to hear from you. From conversations I've had with other freelancers, it seems like this is just a fact of life in the freelance world. There's going to be times where things are a little slower, and honestly, I guess that's hard for me coming from the 9-to-5 world where you constantly have meetings and deadlines and things to get done. I guess that's just something I'm not quite used to yet, and I'll be honest, it brings me quite a bit of anxiety. I start thinking to myself like, oh crap, I'm a failure. This whole freelance thing is a failure. What if this isn't for me? Maybe I am just destined to work for someone else at a 9-to-5. Thoughts like that. What I find that helps me is to stay busy doing things that make me feel proactive. Content creation has actually been really great for this, since it's something that I can dedicate more or less time to, depending on how busy I am with client work. I'm actually working on this video while waiting for feedback from a client. I also spend time submitting proposals, learning new skills, and networking. Keeping myself busy helps me focus on the positives and helps me not spiral into those negative thoughts. The worst thing you can do for yourself is hyper-focus on the negatives and stress yourself out even more. And it seems a bit hypocritical of me to even say that, since that's definitely something that I still struggle with, but I'm working on it, and hopefully you are too. Okay, I feel like I had a lot of negatives to say about freelancing, but despite all that, this phase in my career has easily been the most rewarding and the most fun that I've had. I've gotten to work on projects that I've always wanted to work on and work with clients that I never thought I would be able to. More importantly, freelancing has given me a level of autonomy over my life and my time that I just don't think I'd be able to have working at a traditional 9 to 5. In my personal life, it's allowed me to spend more time with my friends and family. It's given me the freedom to go to the gym in the middle of the day when most other people are working. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, it allowed me to spend time with my late grandmother in her final days. I was able to be by her side when she was in the hospital earlier this year. I was able to take her out on walks in her wheelchair in the middle of the day and just be able to be present with her. That's time that now that she's gone, there's no way to get back or redo. And that's just not a luxury that I think would have been afforded to me at a 9 to 5. Which is why, despite all the challenges that come with freelancing, I feel like I've made the right choice. And for anyone watching that is just beginning their unemployment journey or they're starting out or whatever, just know that there is life after a job. I know it's hard to see in the moment, but life does in fact go on, even if you lose your job. You'll figure it out, trust the process, trust yourself, and you'll get there. If I can be here a year later to tell you the tale, so can you. You can do it. I believe in you. But anyways, that'll be it for me for this video. If you enjoyed, please give this video a like so the YouTube algorithm will be nice to me. And feel free to subscribe to follow along as I try to figure out this next phase in my career. Let me know down in the comments if you've been through unemployment or you're a freelancer. I'd love to hear your stories. But other than that, I will catch you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.